This speaker, this company may be our last hope for affordable hi-fi. I remember a time when you could buy a pair of Sony speakers that sounded pretty good for $73. Well, those days are kind of over because now a dozen eggs cost $53. I don't know if I'm getting these numbers right, but it sounds right. And it seemed like we had a ton of speakers to choose from that were less than $300, but they're all from the big companies like Polk, Klipsch, Elax sometimes. Nothing wrong with those companies. But they all sell through retail, and to get a really good one, well, you have to build it. You have to buy a DIY kit, and even those are more than $300. It felt like no independent companies were making affordable speakers anymore. Well, guess what? I was wrong, because today we're going to talk about a speaker from a company that was under my nose the whole time, and maybe our last hope for independent, affordable audio. So sit down, grab a cup of coffee, maybe sign up for the Cam Coffee Club where you get a delicious new flavor of Cam coffee each month. Today we're going to talk about who Hifi, that's right, audio. We're going to talk about these little speakers. These are the Scouts. We're going to talk about the price, which incidentally is $299. We're going to talk about what makes these so special at $299. Spoiler, it's real wood veneer. Obviously, we're going to talk about how they sound. And finally, we're going to talk about whether or not I would recommend them. I recommend them. I have listened, touched, and done videos on hundreds of products, and there's always one reoccurring theme. It doesn't matter how good something sounds or how good something looks. If it's not easy to use, people aren't going to use it. That's why I am thrilled to have the Arzen Boom Mini projector and speaker sponsoring today's video. I got the Boom Mini in, and I used it. I had no idea how much it cost, and frankly, I was shocked to find out it's $350, and they regularly do promotions, which means it goes on sale. This is a projector. Is it going to replace your home theater fancy $3,000 projector that you have and never use? No. Is it going to replace your $5,000 home theater or hi-fi system? No. But what it will do is actually have you enjoying music, movies, and television in places that you wish you could. I've had this on the back porch. My daughters and I watched a movie back there. Before the movie even ended, my 12-year-old said, "Can we take this on our camping trip?" And I said, yes. It has Google Smart TV inside, which means you have access to all your favorite apps like Netflix. And the theme of the Boom Mini is that it's easy. It does automatic focusing in less than 3 seconds, automatic keystone adjustment. My other older daughter that's in college, she lives in an apartment and you can't mount a TV to the wall. She saw this when she was home and was like, I need one of those. You can also turn this thing straight up and watch TV or movies on your ceiling and have it up and running in minutes, even if you have to go to the back porch because the kids were watching something, because it's so small. And if this wasn't enough, it also sounds awesome. It has Dolby audio speakers on the back. A whole bunch of them. So now you don't have to have a separate Bluetooth speaker. Out of everything that I've had in for review, I've never had one thing be so good at so many things in such a small package and be so portable and so easy to use. And if things are complicated to use, we won't use them. Things rarely exceed my expectations, and the Arzen Boom Mini exceeded my expectations. Hifi Audio. It's a very difficult company name to say. Who are they? Because I had no idea that they actually existed. Well, apparently it's like that cheeseburger place you've never heard of that's behind the O'Reilly Auto Parts store in the bad part of town. They occasionally get shut down. Maybe every 2 months because they violated some type of food safety law. But it's so good your buddy insisted that you go anyway. And when you did, it was delicious. And luckily, you didn't get any type of foodborne illness. Well, this company is just like that, except they don't put your health at risk with ground beef. They make delicious, nope, They make wonderful sounding speakers that are beautiful and thoughtful and well designed. I almost got that joke perfectly, but I did not. And they aren't some outfit operating out of a garage and they bought a flight to China and then picked a speaker off of a menu and then said, build it that way. Nope, they actually designed it. And they have people that know what they're doing. Mark Schifter. He's the CEO. Apparently he's an audio legend. Viet Huynh. He's the one that designed these things. And he also apparently worked for NASA, which is coincidentally, the guy that started ADS was a German guy who also worked for NASA. Apparently when they burn out at NASA, they go make speakers. Which it's refreshing to know that even a rocket scientist can design a decent speaker. Then you have Peter Madnick, who worked with Mark at a place called Audio Alchemy. Alchemy? Yep, that's right. They made DACs in the 90s, and if anybody listened to a CD player in the 90s, they knew that somebody needed to be making DACs in the 90s, because most DACs sounded like garbage. Well, theirs didn't. You may ask yourself, how, Randy, do they offer such awesome speakers at such low prices? Well, they don't waste money on things like marketing, which, guess what? It works because I've never heard of this company until somebody from Axpona asked me to give them a listen. They also save money on their website design because it's pretty bad. But that's okay. I'm not throwing shade because my Shopify store kind of looks exactly like it. This, my friends, I was getting it wrong. This is the Vanguard Scout. It's a two-way bass. It's a two-way speaker with a hole in the back that they call a port. It's got a 5 1/4 inch paper cone woofer, which a lot of people like, and it's got a cool texture on it and a 25mm silk dome tweeter, all wrapped up in a beautiful real wood veneer. I can't believe it. It's rosewood. Look how pretty it is. Now, this is no Himalayan swine bark, but you get what you get at $300, and what you get here is a beautiful real wood veneer. Rosewood, not rosebud. In the comments, put if you know what that movie is from. Rosebud. Lauded as being one of the best films ever made, and I thought it was terrible. Terribly boring. Also, if you go to their website, they show you a picture of a crossover, and I've been doing this long enough to know that if somebody shows you a picture of their crossover, well, they're not ashamed of it. Somebody put some design into that crossover. You know, like a NASA guy that doesn't work at NASA anymore. I wonder if he got fired. Hopefully not. Reportedly goes down to 60 hertz, -6 dB. Not too shabby for a speaker like this. However, if you want full range sound, you're gonna have to hook up a subwoofer to it. When I was listening in the near field here in my office, didn't feel the need to hook up a subwoofer. However, I didn't want to move things and then plug in a subwoofer. So I may be making up excuses. But no, it's actually pretty good. These are rated at 8 ohms nominal impedance. And come on, Randy. They have a sensitivity, there we go, of 84.5 dB, which isn't very high. However, it's not a terrible load to drive. And I drove it off of the Weem amp, I think the OG Weem amp, that comes in on sale today, I think at $240. I kind of figured if you're buying a pair of $300 speakers, you're probably not hooking up a $5,000 integrated amplifier, but you could. On their website, they report that this speaker is voiced to provide non-fatiguing, all-day listening enjoyment with a variety of genres of music. Well, I put that to the test with a little bit of 80s pop, Alanis Morissette, of course, Metallica, Slipknot, Alanis Morissette, her cover of King of Pain is awesome. At the beginning, out of the left speaker, you get some acoustic guitar. When Alanis comes in, who would name their kid Alanis? I wonder if that's her real name. Think about it. Okay, we're getting ready to have a baby. What do you want to name it? I don't know. I'd love the theory of Atlantis. I think that's pretty cool. Aquaman and everything. We can't name her Atlantis. What about Alanis? Bingo. Anyway, that song is recorded very sibilant. So sibilance happens for my ear between 4 and 6K. These on the website said they're non-fatiguing. Fatigue happens for me around 1,000 to 1,800 hertz. These had no sibilance, which is quite an accomplishment. However, when you have a speaker that has no sibilance, oftentimes it has no air. And what air means is when someone twangs an acoustic guitar, you can hear a little vibrato in the air. Or if you're listening to a live recording, you can get a sense of the space that it was recorded in. That's air. These speakers, the Vanguard Scouts, are non-fatiguing and still give you a sense of air. Not a sense, they actually give you air. I turned on Why So Serious. It's by Hans Zimmer and an orchestra off of the Dark Knight soundtrack. There is a part in that song that goes way, way down. Also a very dynamic song. A lot of times, speaker like this isn't very dynamic. Speaker this size, not like this, but a speaker of this size is not hugely dynamic. And the part in the song where it completely drops out, well, it's all bass. Very low bass. You couldn't hear it on the speaker. It's okay though. I got a kind of an idea of it. But I wanted to see how it handled the quiet to the loud parts of that song. Did a really good job. Playing well into the 80s. What I love about this speaker, it's got a ton of body. Doesn't have a ton of bass, low bass, but it's got a ton of body, lower mid-range. And I would say anything really down to about 100. It's quite powerful. Ooh! Heretic Anthem by Slipknot. The live version from London was absolutely spectacular. That song doesn't have a lot of dynamics, but it's very fast, obviously. Little Vanguard Scouts kept up just perfectly. The electric guitar, the weightiness of the lower mid-range, the electric guitar, truly addicting. And I pushed them a little bit. I stretched their legs. High 80s, and they weren't even breaking a sweat. Did not fall apart. These are also very heavy for their size, which means I'm assuming they're braced well or someone poured a little bit of plaster in the bottom to make them seem like they're more expensive. Just kidding. I think they're braced well and have a pretty good set of drivers and decent crossover. Now, if you play something like Intergalactic by the Beastie Boys, not going to be able to get mid-80s or high 80s. You might not even be able to get 80 because that's such a dynamic song. It drops such huge bass bombs, you don't want to break the speaker. But on certain tracks, these things get quite loud. Now, I was in the near field about 5 feet away, but even in my big living room, I got them to bump up to the 80 range. Put a high-pass filter on them, you can get even more out of them. An absolute accomplishment at $299. We need more companies like this. Independent brands focusing on affordable equipment and doing it right. What you're getting with the Vanguard Scouts. Beautiful design. Real wood veneer. A thoughtful crossover. Great drivers, or probably the best drivers that you can get at the price. A well-engineered design from NASA people and people that have done audio for a while. This reminds me a little bit of the Pioneer, the first gen Pioneer that Andrew Jones made, and the first gen ELAC speakers that Andrew Jones made. However, I think these have a little bit more going on the top end. I don't think there's anything out there that remotely compares to these at the price, because it has real, I keep saying real wood veneer. That's very impressive. If anybody has priced out veneer lately, it's quite an accomplishment that you can get these for $300. Unrivaled, unmatched. 10 out of 9 out of 10. I was going to give them a 10 out of 10. If they had a little bit more mid-range clarity, it would be a 10 out of 10. But it's a 9 out of 10, which isn't bad. That's still an A. And now, you know about that greasy cheeseburger place behind the O'Reilly Auto Parts store that gets shut down every 2 months because of health violations. But it's not that at all. It's an independent company that makes speakers, which are awesome. And they're selling them directly to you, so they don't have to sell them through a retailer, which takes 50%. So keep this in mind. If this speaker is getting sold to you for $300, if a retailer was selling you that same speaker, it would cost you $600. If we want to keep seeing companies like this, independent companies, thoughtful designs, great sound, well, then we need to support companies like this. And because they don't spend any money on marketing, you probably didn't know about them, but now you do. Verify Audio, the Vanguard Scouts. Amazing. If you like this video, then you should really check out my video about building an entire system for around $500. And now you can use the Vanguard Scouts to do that. Buy yourself a Weem amp that's on sale right now for $240. I'll put that link in the description. Also put the link in the description for the Verify Audio Vanguard Scouts. And of course, link in the description to some delicious cam coffee. Sign up for the Cam Coffee Club. It's a monthly thing where you get delicious coffee delivered to you and a free coffee mug. Thank you so much for watching.